So I've been listening to you for years, and your teachings and the law of attraction have definitely changed my life, no doubt. I listen to Abraham's words every day, every morning, throughout the day. While I totally understand and I get that it's about the journey and not so much the destination, you know, I have Abraham quotes all over my house. I really do understand the teachings.
It feels good to desire something, though. We want you to have desires.
And there's plenty of those.
We just don't want you to trample them with doubt.
So, to that point, I assume everyone would appreciate, you know, the very specific processes that you recommend. I have all of them kind of in piecemeal in the morning, getting up, enjoying the view out the window, you know.
Well, here's the thing.
What do I do?
Listen. We've been giving to you here today the best explanation of what we would do if we were in your physical shoes. And here's why, and here's what we mean by that. You're in the midst of some momentum because you've been around and you've been thinking, and the law of attraction has been responding to you and is responding to you. And so there is momentum that is happening. It is your response to what is happening that is the predominant reason that you offer the vibrations that you do. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would say to ourselves, I want to calibrate to what's becoming, not to what is. Because what is the enemy of future expansion. What is, your memories of things or your observations of things, are what holds you in slow motion or no motion. So we would begin to approach life more from the standpoint of what can I do to calibrate to my vortex, and what can I do to not calibrate so much to what's going on around me. Now, it isn't that we don't think that there are nice things for you to observe. There are. We just want you to be more productive selective sifters. In other words, don't spend time in conversations about the things that you do not want. Spend time in conversations about the things that you do want. So if you've been listening to us for a while, that message has always been the same. You get what you think about, you get what you speak about. It's attraction, attraction, attraction. But we also understand that sometimes you just can't help yourself, because there it is, so vivid. How can you not notice it, and how can you not respond to it? You can't. And in that situations, it's what we call a step one moment. When you are writhing in the discomfort of the unwanted, this is the part that we really want you to take home today. While you are calibrating to this thing that you do not want, you are also calibrating anew in your vortex. And if you could just understand that, so that you don't make what's happening, if you don't want it, a bad thing, you let it be a clarifying thing, so that you just relax more in this never-ending journey, and you just decide that it's more a fun journey than it isn't. It's a more feeling good journey than it isn't. And then just do your best to reach for the best feeling thoughts that you can find along the way, and get out ahead of it. That's the newest part of the message. Get out ahead of it by segment intending and by meditating. A belief is something that is a thought that almost feels like it thinks you, because it has momentum. So the best you can do is notice how this belief feels, and if it feels defeating, or if it feels unfair or unjust, then you've got to do something about changing the way you feel. And what's tripping most humans up is that you think, no, the injustice has to go away, and then I will not feel injustice. So I will get a whole bunch of people on my team and we will fight injustice. It doesn't work out very well, does it? The harder you push against the injustice, the more the injustice becomes. So what you finally have to decide is that you're going to step back and look at it from a broader point of view, where there is no injustice. They're just people utilizing the law of attraction in different ways, and you can utilize it in a way that makes you have what you consider to be a better life for you. There's no magic formula. You just got to do the work, and the work is pay attention to how I feel, and if I don't feel good, take my attention away from whatever it is that isn't feeling good. But don't just take my attention away from it, then give my attention to the other end of the stick, what I've calibrated it to be. So what's on your mind?
Well, again, what I do to achieve that. So there's the meditation, and then directly after that, I've heard you say so many times you did focus wheels for years.
We love you all so much. You meditate for 15 or 20 minutes, and then you respond to life all day long.
Yes.
In other words, you watch television and you respond to it, and you talk to each other and you respond to it, and you go out to dinner and you respond to it. You're knee-jerk responding to almost everybody. You got to get out ahead of it. You got to stop responding, and you got to be better prepared before you walk into the room where you could respond. Esther's back here because she knows the room is too warm, and so she encouraged everybody to open the doors because it's 52 degrees outside. Want to go out there? And so back here there's a door that goes right to the outside, has a big sign on it that says don't open it. It has an alarm. Well, turn off the alarm. Turn off the alarm. So they did. And then nice men, too little too late, you may have seen them stick a big stick over to ascertain that there's no air coming out at all. The thermostat says it's working. Everything says it's working. It's not working. So Esther's looking at, there are 8 of them in her hallway, and she just said, just open the door, just open the door, just open the door. It's a little too late to redo the air conditioning in the room. And she's feeling so good, she found it comical. 2 days ago she wanted to kill everyone. Today she's tuned in, tapped in, turned on. She's feeling good. She's just watching them. She knows they're well-meaning and completely ineffective. There's nothing that it can do. There's nothing that they can do at this point. There's nothing that they can do. But there's something she can do. She can be distraught about it, or she can see the humor in it. He stuck his pole over, and she said, what's that supposed to do? Because she could see an orange thing hanging from it. Just hanging from it. Just hanging from it. Doesn't look like there's any air, Esther said. Doesn't look like it's working. And they're looking at her like, there isn't anything we can do. And she's looking at them like, there isn't anything that you can do. And she's looking at them like, it doesn't matter, there isn't anything you can do. And they're looking at her like, well, even if it mattered, there isn't anything that we could do. And so stuff happens around you all the time. But you've got to decide whether you're going to let it calibrate you into discord, whether you're going to let that be the thing that calibrates you so that you take that person forward in the world, so that you get the bad driver and you rendezvous with bad drivers, and then you go to a restaurant that doesn't have the food you want or the service that you want. In other words, it just goes on and on and on. It only takes something to get you calibrated against yourself. So you've just got to decide. You've just got to decide how your life mostly goes. Because Esther's life mostly goes very well. It is a really rare experience to have a meeting room that's not ready for a meeting. It's a really rare experience. There may be many more now, but it doesn't have to go that way. In other words, this is a turning point. When you are in a situation that you don't like, it is a turning point, and it can turn whichever way you turn it. It doesn't have to turn you to more of what you don't want. It can turn you to greater clarity. It can tune you to greater tuning. It can make you more clear about what you want. It can cause you to make better decisions and follow up on your decisions more. There are all kinds of things that a situation that you don't like can activate within you. You just have to know that you're in charge of your life. And sometimes in a situation like this, it doesn't feel like you're in charge because something that matters isn't working. So it doesn't feel like you're in charge, but you are in charge of the way you respond to it. You are in charge of that. It's 52 degrees outside. It could be a whole different situation. In other words, if it was 120 out there and this wasn't working, there'd be more suffering going on in here. But that's not what's happening. You see what we're getting at?
Listen, you answered my question before I asked it. This is ridiculous. You answered all of my questions. And one of the issues really was the sense that we are all doing something wrong because we're not having a life like we assume Esther has. And now we see the life.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Truly.
That you never get to the place that you're not doing the work. You never get to the place where you're not doing the work. We could give you the scenario of what Esther saw coming about this, but things get stuck in your vibrational craw, and then instead of doing something about them, you just sort of complain about them. And so it doesn't take very much complaining to manifest something. We are all in this together in this environment. You could say that this is everyone's point of attraction. We would say it is more strongly Esther's point of attraction than anyone else, in the same way that a parent is a stronger attraction for their children than anybody else, because Esther thinks more about this. Esther cares more about this. Esther makes decisions more about this. And sometimes, and this is really the thing that is applying to Esther, and maybe it's applying to some of you too, we know for sure it is, so we're just going to say this. When you begin calibrating and you tap into the resources that are available to you, and you create a really big life, you can't fall back into patterns of action to deal with the big life you've created. You just can't do it. When you do it, your body breaks down, or the air conditioner breaks down, or something breaks down, communication breaks down. You can't go back. You can't tap in to the bigness of who you are and attract the big experiences like Esther is attracting around her, and then count on her scheduling or her own physical effort or her own physical follow-up to keep things in balance. You can't go back to an action-oriented world once you've tapped into infinite intelligence and the source energy that creates worlds. You can't go back. You have to keep trusting and believing and asking and not responding and not trying to manage and not trying to manipulate and not try to get somebody who doesn't want to do their job to do their job. So if you've got somebody in place that isn't doing their job and you want them to do their job and they don't do their job, and then you yell at them because they're not doing their job, you're not doing your job.
Appreciate.
Yeah. Enough?
Certainly. Thank you so
Really
much.
good. Really good.